You ready? Okay.
This is the Finance Committee meeting. It is 5:32. It also is November the 12th. Members present are Kelly Reese, Bill Green, and myself, Jim Sullivan. Also present is the Mayor Cindy Billings, Jeff Miller, and Scott Barney. And
Elizabeth's on the
who's on the phone?
phone. Elizabeth?
Elizabeth's on the phone. Okay. On the agenda is discussion about the budgets, both 2020, the remaining of this year, and the 2021 budget. I always give the floor to Scott if he's got any updates or any requests by the end of the year.
On the 2020 budget, I'll have an amendment, appropriation amendment tomorrow, up to you. The coronavirus relief fund, I'm just moving money from other to personal services. So we move our payroll over to it.
Okay.
We didn't use all the supplies and that stuff that I originally put in there, so just moving it so we can use it for payroll. And the sewer fund, I need $700 for bank fees, but I'm also reducing the treatment and collection system, $300,000, because we didn't do a project this year. So I'm not increasing the budget at all. Those will be some minor changes that I'll make for the year end, to the county.
Okay.
That's all I have in the 2020 budget.
It'll stop after 3 minutes.
With the, I guess the most complicated question is what can we do with the coronavirus fund money? Is it strictly for payroll? Is it?
No, it's only payroll that can be used is for the first responders, so our police department.
Correct.
There are a number of items you can use it for, any PPEs, anything that would
Okay.
be related to COVID, to businesses.
Grants, whatever you want to do, yeah.
Yeah, because the township did something for their businesses with some of theirs.
They're in the process of it.
Okay.
That's what I wondered. Not her.
Oh, I think it is. Elizabeth? Oh. No. No. All right, I'll try again.
Awesome. If not, I'll just,
You're on.
you're not broadcasting this one, are you?
Yep.
Yes, we are.
Oh, no, we're not broadcasting.
All right,
no.
if I can't get on, I'll just watch it.
No,
We're not.
Oh, yeah, no.
If they're in council chambers, we can't broadcast.
It is being
If it
recorded
fails
though.
again, I'll just find out later.
You're broadcasting everybody in here.
Okay,
Okay.
great.
Sorry, Scott.
So there's a number of items that you would really have to say, if you want to use it for something else,
Yeah.
what you're thinking, and then I can look up and make sure it qualifies.
Okay. So it can't be used to, if they're not first responders, then it can't be used for any additional payroll or anything like that, correct?
The only other payroll it could be used for is like if you're giving some, like a, what do you call it? A hardship, you know, because they're working during something like this. I forget what they called it.
Yeah, if they did something that was COVID related,
Right.
you're setting up tents to
Sure.
house somebody, you can put their wages to it.
Okay.
I put some unemployment to it because someone was laid off because of unemployment that previously worked with us.
Okay. So like the street department, we cut their hours, we can't apply anything to them.
No, because they didn't do anything, they just didn't come to work.
Okay. Okay. Any other questions about that? Those are my questions, I guess.
But I think you can use it, if I'm not mistaken, for if someone has to be quarantined due
Yes.
to
Mhm.
someone testing positive in their.
Right, correct.
Right. So if a person in their household tests positive and they have to quarantine also, they
Correct.
can, right,
That's what the fund is for.
okay,
Knock on wood, we haven't had to do that, yeah.
yes,
Hopefully we won't.
okay.
There's another question I keep coming up with, that we keep saying, you'll know at the end, by the end of the year, you'll know. Now I don't remember the question.
I don't, other than, bring up tonight the reserves, we gotta transfer the reserves for the next couple of meetings for this year. We haven't done that yet for the street equipment.
Right. So we can go back to, let's go back to talk about the reserve funds for the remaining of this year and for next year. One of the things we did not do for this year was we did not put any money towards the equipment fund for the street department. That was.
Correct.
That was.
So, I have it at 200,000 right now.
Yeah,
45,000 in the accrued sick vacation, 25 from the general, and 15 from the sewer.
okay. Any comments about the reserve funds?
I don't think we need, in light of what's happening and the fact that the governor is maybe gonna clamp down again, I think we should just be very careful with our funding and not put it in a reserve. I mean, I think we need to keep it, because we don't know what's down the road. This thing is escalating and we could be shut down again. And then you've got the money tied up in the capital reserve funds, and I know it can be transferred out, but why do that right now when we don't know where we're gonna be?
Because it's part of the plan, so we
Well-
have money in the future, and if you did run into a problem, then you do the legislation to move it out, if you have the problem.
Plan can change,
Sure.
and this is
A
in light
good
of
plan
this.
will change.
Right, and in light of this unique situation, I think we need to be very prudent with what we do.
I agree with being prudent. I disagree with the idea of stuffing it in our mattress. I wanna move forward on a lot of things, and sitting around waiting for, this to go away is just not gonna happen. It's gonna be with us for a while. Even if they get a vaccine that works tomorrow, it's gonna be a while before they can make enough vaccines to take care of everybody. So my thought is that as far as, let's run down through the list again. You've got sick and retirement pay that you have to put into.
Yes.
I would suggest we go ahead and put an appropriation together to put that money where it needs to go.
Okay, I believe we already have the appropriations, it's just a question of doing the transfer.
Oh, okay,
Resolution.
so the appropriations is done, it's just a matter of transferring the money?
Yes.
Okay,
I'll double check it, but I believe they're already there.
okay. In addition to that is
Just the street equipment.
just the street equipment, which we didn't do at the beginning of the year.
Correct.
I'm actually okay with transferring the street equipment. Again, it's not for the purchase of anything, it's the allocation, it's for the, yeah, for the potential. They just,
I guess the way I look at it, yeah, they're shutting down things, but they're not shutting us down. We're not closing, we still have to function. The government, we're always gonna have to function. So we have to make arrangements and be ready to.
right.
You want those middle lights up? You want those middle lights up?
Not really, we're okay.
No? Okay.
Nate, you just, how much was the truck for repair?
1,400,
Okay,
and so,
and that particular truck is the one that you've been wanting to replace.
yeah, actually, to replace it but keep it and just for an emergency and for the 5 lanes of traffic that we have.
It's, and I'll
We
go
are
back.
going to, I will say this, we had it, they maintenance it this year, and they said that later on, the kingpins are okay for now, but they are getting worn and the radiator is going bad. That's maintenance,
Okay.
with all the salt and everything, those radiators will rust out.
Okay,
Can we get a copy of what this has cost us in maintenance for the last 3 years?
Sure.
okay.
Do you want it for all the trucks?
Yeah,
You want,
That would be
you want
good.
it for all the older ones, or all of them, or what do you want?
I think we
You-
need,
Scott, you actually keep a separate balance in the maintenance, equipment maintenance.
I don't, I couldn't pull them together by truck, I'm sure.
No,
Yeah,
but
I
I mean,
can-
you keep a total.
Yeah.
So we could actually look at the report. The September report would actually have total maintenance.
yeah, but you wouldn't know what that was for. which
But it's an
truck.
overall maintenance for the street department, so that's,
That's not gonna really tell you anything, but,
okay.
I mean, I don't know that it would be very specific. If you want specific, I can give it to you.
If you could get it just for the
Sure.
trucks themselves,
Sure,
I mean, that'd be a benefit. I mean,
okay,
it's like the police cruisers. We get to a point when the cruisers are costing more money than they're,
mhm,
it's time to replace them. And, the cruisers and the trucks, they don't gain miles, they gain hours.
That's-
And
that's
that's
the
our
thing.
concern is the amount of time they're on the road.
well, the one thing of this, the 91, one thing good is, those older trucks, is you don't have the emissions on them. You
Right.
don't have to have the diesel exhaust fluids, the DEF, and the things that go on with that. So that's a good thing. But you have things like this steering box. It costs less than I thought it was going to.
Okay.
But they, instead of being able to put a seal in it, you can't get them anymore, but he could get a rebuilt one and put in there.
Okay.
So, and those 466 engines were pretty, there's a lot of them, but still, they're older, and it's, to get parts is gonna be harder.
Okay. I don't want this to be strictly about streets, but I want to continue on.
The maintenance cost is about 16,000 so far this year.
Okay. The amount of money that came in with the 1% credit, how much came in last year? Can you attribute a dollar amount towards that
Last year?
from 2019? We had 5 months.
I could, I don't have that on me right now,
Okay.
but we can look, we do have.
I know we
The
estimated
calculation.
somewhere about 350 to 375, something around there.
Right.
Okay.
It was about 350 we were estimating that would bring in a year.
Right. And if we take the same amount for this year for 11 months, and the 5 months from last year, it's 16 months total. To me, that would be an estimated of $480,000.
You've also gotta take into account the whole COVID thing.
A lot of people not working
It's
and
gonna be
stuff.
lower.
Yeah. So, here's my thought behind it. When we originally put the issue in an ordinance, we said that half the money would go towards streets and half the money would go towards the building fund. if we look at it and say $480,000 is what we brought in, then 240 could go towards streets and 240 could go towards the building fund.
I think we need to wait until we see what we have before we start doling out money though.
Where are you going with that?
Well, what I'm looking for is Streets just had a meeting and they're going to take a project to Sam, have him price out that project and bring it back. And that will create a paving project for next year. Or, I shouldn't say a paving project for next year. The way it should be described is that creates a project to be funded for next year. And it's up to finance now to look at that funding and see how to come up with the funding for that project. You get an idea where I'm going with it now?
Yeah, I mean, do you have a rough estimate of how, like a box of how big you want those projects to be? So I'm assuming you can make it as big as you want or as little as you want.
You're right, streets basically, the way I suggested it was the streets would come up with a series of projects up to 7. And then have those projects costed out. Instead of putting them on a schedule, a calendar, to say, this is what we're gonna do this year, this is what we're gonna do in 2 years. The concept would be is that the finance committee would work towards funding the project. Streets would simply come up with the project itself. Rather than doing partial projects, or just a couple streets, the idea would be, is to do an entire project. So the funding would be towards an entire project.
It's like the village would be in grids, kind of, sort of.
Exactly. So the grid that Streets came up with first is around the school.
Yeah.
It's a big grid.
Also probably the most important street as far as I'm concerned to get paved.
Right. But at the same time, you get a better price if you do more streets at one time. So we do it as a project, we create it as a project, and then we fund it as a project. It's up to Sam to come up with the dollar amount first. It's up to finance to figure out how to put the money into the fund.
And
I've
how long-
suggested,
And how long it'll take to get the money in the fund to perform the project?
exactly. I suggested in previous meetings that we start a paving fund, just like we do the capital equipment fund for the streets. And we put money into that to watch, to see that it grows that amount. Once funding's available, then we go ahead and we get the project bidded out, and then try to get it done in a particular time frame. And in this case here, because it's a school, the time frame's gotta be in the closed period of the school. So it's gotta be in the July, August time frame.
So that would be in lieu of doing what we're doing right now, where we're putting so much money aside and paying it every year.
That would be including, right?
Including
So
it.
if we look at it and say we're still putting the $100,000 from 2019 and $100,000 from 2020,
Right.
or we use 2020 and 2021. 2019, we already used it. So it'd be 2020 and 2021, each of those get $100,000 plus whatever came out of the 1% credit. That starts working towards that project.
Does that include the gas tax as well?
The gas tax can only be used for certain, my understanding, certain roads like Woodland and
No,
Sunnyside.
gas taxes for the operations and upkeep.
Oh, okay, it's for all of
our
it.
streets.
What am I thinking of? It's the,
That
You're
little,
thinking maybe about some of the other.
we get, yeah, we get
Okay.
some of that money from,
okay. So yes, gas tax would go towards that too.
And license fee.
We have to watch where we're pulling the money from, because it's also covering operations.
right, it's not just for street paving. That's not what it's set up for.
Yeah, I'd love to go through and say local government funds is all going towards, all going towards the paving program, but then we have nobody to, to drive the trucks.
So then the assumption is after, since the 1% is gone, then we'll have to come up with other opportunities on how to raise money.
Exactly.
Because we know the 100,000 we're putting away every year is not enough to keep up with our
Right.
streets.
But if we put the 100,000 from 2020, the 100,000 from 2021, and then the 240, now we're all of a sudden, we're up to.
Roughly
240.
240.
What's
That
that?
way, so roughly 240, so people don't
Roughly.
hear 240,000,
Yeah,
run with it.
Yeah. But that would be the goal.
I don't know if that'd be enough to pay a bill, Lincoln Hoosier that deep.
My rough estimate of the roads they wanna do is 500,000 to 600,000.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah. And plus then it'd be, there's a chance that Sam might be able to get a grant or two because it's around the school or something.
It'd be nice, I think I mean, I'd go on board with paving those ones before just about anything around here, I think.
Yeah.
Just because,
Mhm.
Okay.
as long as we can do it feasibly, obviously.
So that was my thoughts around that.
Makes sense.
Okay. Anything on any of the other budgets before we,
I just had an open question, so Nate, we talked last time about the increased salary for the snow removal.
Auxiliary.
Did we check on that?
We did, I talked with Danny Cameron, and he said he pays his, auxiliary guys, that, the individuals, cause he does it kinda different, he'll hire, like, I think he hired Bontrager Excavating to come in, and he pays them, they have to pay their own insurance, this, that, and the other. Individuals, he pays $18 an hour, and that's with the CDL.
and when you hire, and you haven't done this in quite a while, when you have to go out and get additional help for snow removal, who pays the insurance?
We do.
Okay.
Yeah, they would be an employee of the village.
But
So
you're talking
just-
liability, you're not talking like health insurance and stuff like that.
Yeah, it's just part.
No,
Just
no, no,
liability
no, not health
Yeah.
insurance, I'm talking about liability.
Right, right.
Okay.
But you're saying the township doesn't do that?
All depends. If he, like, he'll pay somebody $40 an hour, but they have to, I believe they might even supply their own trucks. I'm not quite sure, I'm not sure exactly.
It's sort of like
That's what
subcontracting.
it sounds
Yeah,
like.
yeah,
It subs
exactly,
out,
Yeah.
staff all-
And, but they're under contract, right, they would be under contract. So I was more interested in what he pays his individuals, and so,
Does he go mostly sub though during the winter?
yeah,
Versus bringing on
Yeah.
additional individuals?
right.
Does that bias anything to go with a subcontractor for something like that?
Not really, because, they're so big,
They've
They
got a
can
lot of area,
justify
yeah.
if we bring one guy in, and if I can send the guys home, to make sure they get 8 hours of
Yeah.
sleep or whatever, and either me or somebody can be here, I would probably be here with the extra individual, and we would work through the night or whatever, and then the guys would come in, and then either I would have this guy help us clean up, or, you know, I would send him home and whatever. It's just to kind of keep going. So, usually, and, you know, I've hired guys that don't have CDLs, and that's worked out okay too, because at least we get the things cleared off. It's not as good, but it's usually at night to where there's not that much traffic. So, I mean, at least it helps and keeps us going.
And you're talking about them using the smaller trucks?
Right,
Yeah,
the 550.
just to
Not
clarify.
the pickups, right,
Exactly.
it's too small, but the 550,
Okay.
yeah.
So what is the recommendation then? Isn't this something we would take to put in the salary ordinance?
Yeah, I would suggest that the salary ordinance would give, and what, Nate, correct me if I'm wrong, you're looking for $18 an hour for, I think, what do you wanna call them, auxiliary snow removal?
Yeah,
Okay.
I think that's what it's called now.
Who's on?
Yes.
Myself, I think that.
And I would say, I would put that on there with the CDL. If you
And
just want
that's-
people with CDLs, I mean, that's up to you guys. I think you could put both of them on, you know, to say, you know, maybe $16 an hour without a CDL, $18 an hour with a CDL. It's up to you, however you wanna do it.
How important do you think the CDL is?
It would help a lot, yeah. Cause if
Well,
I
then
could
I
put
would
somebody
do it
on the
without.
big truck instead of the little one, it would help.
Well, then don't even put it in without.
Yeah, but you're not gonna, there's very few people that have CDLs that will do this. I mean, you're
Oh,
more
yeah, they're
apt to
already
get,
busy.
right, they're already busy.
Yeah.
You're more apt to get a guy that doesn't have it, that's looking for some work in the evening, that'd be willing to do this. And at least it would alleviate some of your, if you
Right.
have to, but
It would be helpful if I would have both. It would.
When's the last time you used an auxiliary?
Oh my, it's been a couple of years.
Okay.
It's been
How's-
several years. Yeah, we haven't had that bad of winters, that's the thing.
Scott, how's that affect our insurance?
I would just call them and I think we'll be fine.
Okay, all right.
What I would do is I would,
As
if
long
I
as they're
could
under
get
our
a,
employment.
we'd have to run a background check, all that kind of stuff.
Sure. Okay, so that's an issue for personnel.
Yep.
All right, anything else? Let's go ahead and get police department finalized. When's the last time we did a evaluation on salaries?
The last time we all did it,
Probably
when I did it,
15,
I was still on council.
When,
probably around 15.
then we've
Yeah,
never done
14 or
one since.
15.
We've never done one since.
I don't think we've done one since.
No, it was 14 or 15.
Yeah, it's been a while. how intense is that, Scott? You were the one that headed that up.
I mean, it takes some time, depends on their. Yeah, the difficult part is every community's different, but,
Yeah.
you know.
That was the
We
hardest
can do
part,
it.
trying to find comparable
Right.
places.
I mean, it would take several months to get it done.
My concern is, and this is the reason that we do the economic quotient, indicator the way we do, is to make sure that nobody gets behind.
Right.
And we said at that time that we would attempt to do these every few years to make sure we're still in line.
We can start the process after the first of the year,
Okay,
start gathering the information, and that way we'd be ready for the next ECI come
right.
June.
I think I still have the old one, I mean, at least they'll give us some places to look at. I'll dig it out.
You only doing it for police, or you doing it?
If we have the opportunity, I'd say we do it
We did it for everybody last
for
time.
everybody. I know Nate wants to bring another person on, he wants to bump one of his guys up to another level. This basically would help validate that. It also helps validate how we do the economic indicator too. That's Elizabeth dropped
Yeah.
Yeah, I just unplugged the phone,
on. Oh,
that way it wouldn't disturb anyone.
We'll do that first year.
started it first. If we could just have it done by July, I mean, that
Right.
takes care of that. Any questions about, any issues on the, or any concerns with the budget? I think we noted that there's no vehicle purchase for this year. What's your oldest vehicle?
We just got a brand new car today, so our oldest vehicle right now is Hotel Victor 2, which is gonna be retired.
Well, I thought we were, yeah, I thought that's
Well,
what replacing with two.
Well, yeah, but I mean, but it won't be replaced for over a month, so
Yeah.
currently our oldest vehicle's 2
Gotcha.
for a month, and then our oldest vehicle will be 1, which is the K-9 car. And the plan for that is to take the chief's car, which is the only one remaining that the current box, all the equipment that's in Hotel Victor 1 will fit into.
Yep.
And it's got a couple rusty body areas. It's in great shape, so it'll last for years, and we don't have to replace all that expensive K-9 equipment. So we'll turn that into the K-9 car and then replace that cruiser.
Okay.
So, but that, we'll do that, in 22 instead of 21. So we'll go a year without replacement.
So what year was the oldest vehicle again?
What year was Hotel Victor 2 that we just replaced, or Hotel Victor 1?
They're the same, aren't they?
Hotel Victor 2.
Okay, the one we're just now replacing?
Correct.
I believe that was a 17. Might have been a 16. 16?
I was thinking they were 15.
I was too, Jeff.
Maybe it
Ed
was
was still here.
I wasn't
I think
prepared
they're
for
both
that, because we
15.
discussed that
Yeah, I think
previously.
1 and 2 were bought at the same time.
They
Ed was still
were.
here, and I think they were both 15s.
Maybe
I
so.
think you're right.
Okay.
Maybe it was so. I just know that Hotel Victor 1 was driven a lot less than 2.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, maybe they both were 15s. That makes more sense. So we'll get one more year out of the other one, who's a bigger one than two.
Last year was your first year with the uniform allowance.
Correct.
How did that work out?
I think it went very, very well. It gave officers a greater amount of money to spend, and you know, it gave us more control over how it was spent.
Okay.
And the uniform shops had no objection to it.
I noticed you have marked in here training.
Yes.
How's that different than normal? It's itemized, you have it itemized separately. How's that different than a normal salary or normal?
Well, so oftentimes we have to go away for training because it's just not here.
Yep.
So it can be overtime, it can be the expense of the school, it can be, you know, costs associated with the travel.
Okay.
And right now, I'm under the gun, I have to produce a document for a company called, Chasing Justice. In fact, I think every police agency, I know in Stark County, maybe everyone in Ohio, have to come up with, as do all the other police chiefs, every training component for every police officer that was employed here from 2007 to 2017. And I think I've shown you the revolving door we had for quite a while there. And I have to, every training and every training document to justify that. I mean, that's a huge undertaking, and that's just one of the many public record demands that I'm under right now. And as you know, I don't have a secretary, so it's a pretty daunting task.
Okay.
And some of the records, I don't even know where they are. So,
Last year you had in the budget the Lexapol,
correct,
which was not purchased.
correct.
You're planning on purchasing it this year.
We would love to. One of the issues with everything that's going on in the world right now is about training, and Lexapol is the national standard. And if we want to be a part of the Ohio Collaborative, which is the Ohio, it's more than the standard, it's the vanguard, I would say. And we are very close to being a part of the Ohio Collaborative. That's a key component of being a part of that. We tried going with our current insurance provider. That's why we didn't go with it last year.
Right.
But it falls way short of Lexapol.
Okay.
It's a policy manual with a testing component that ensures that your employees not only have read the policy, but they understand it.
Okay. So the situation you just described with training in the previous comments, this helps resolve those situations.
Yeah, from that day forward, but, you know, nothing in.
Nothing previous,
retroactive,
right?
So there's two things of training in here then? Lexapol?
Well,
That's not
Lexapol
training.
is really a policy manual, it's a behavior
Sure.
guide.
So as policies change, then it's a requirement for the officers to go in, log in, read the policy, quizzed on the policy, and then test, basically, it checks them off that they.
Plus, it's a standardized policy rather than something that the chief has to come up with every time he comes up with a new situation or something.
Right, and believe me, back in the day, it was pretty easy, well, it wasn't easy, but it was easier in the day to come up with the best practices policy, but they're changing so rapidly with case law and everything, that to expect Ron Starkey or Larry Doherty to keep up with this stuff is to expect way more than we can provide. Especially when there's private entities out there that are doing this on a daily basis and providing, you know, brand new case law and updating policies and forwarding it to you so your people can review it and test it, which is what Lexapol does. there's two things I would like you guys to think about too that aren't really on there. One is, as we move forward and evaluate the salaries, I'm struggling terribly to hire a part-time police officer. I can't find anybody with experience. If I hire somebody without experience, I've got a 6-month training program before they become available. And then even at that, I have a period of time where I don't even know if they're going to work out. And we spend a tremendous amount of money, time, and effort trying to figure out, are they gonna work out? And then if they have the character, then it becomes, do they have the ability? And that takes a tremendous amount of time and effort. It's because, a part-timer is designed basically to replace a full-timer during weekends, holidays, vacation, sick leave, that kind of thing. And we pay them at a much lesser rate, even though we don't pay them really any of the benefits either. Part of the problem with the inability to hire a part-timer is because the rate is so low. When you think about it, they're replacing a full-timer, and when we can't find a part-timer, we're replacing them with a full-timer at overtime. So we're kind of thinking about this in a backward fashion, in my opinion. If we would raise the part-time rate, we wouldn't be replacing an absent full-timer with another full-timer at overtime. So say for example, right now we're paying the mid-range part-timer at $16 an hour, okay? And if we replace them with a full-time officer at overtime, we're replacing them at $40 an hour. And I can't find the part-timer at $16 an hour. And I'm even struggling to get the full-timer to come in at 40. So oftentimes I'll bring in the sergeant or the lieutenant at higher than that. So what we need to think about is a pay rate for a part-time officer that's going to save the village money, but still entice a quality, experienced police officer to come spend time in the village, providing the skills to us. And they're out there, but there's other police agencies that are getting ahead of us because they're offering the $25 an hour that a part-timer is demanding in order to kind of work. So I just would like you to think about that. And then,
Why don't we add that to the personnel, if you're gonna have a meeting?
okay, and then a good example of what happened just the other day, a guy called me and he said, hey, Chief, I'm really in a bind. Could you do some ink fingerprints for me, or do you know a police agency that does, because I can't find it anywhere? And I said, yes and yes. And he said, oh, thank God. When can I come up? I said, well, I didn't say we would do it for you. I just said, yes, we do it, and yes, I do know where you can get it done. We did do it for him. And we do it weekly, if not daily, for people. But we have no mechanism to recoup for our time and effort to provide that service. And not many agencies do that anymore. We provide lockouts for people. We go and unlock their cars. If you call a record service, they're gonna charge you $100 to get in your car. We do it for free. We make you sign a waiver, but we do it for free. People come here from 40, 50 miles away for us to do an old-fashioned ink fingerprint.
I don't see why you couldn't charge for the fingerprints. Now,
Well-
the rest of it's part of your job.
But we can't because we don't have the authorization to do so.
Well, that's what I'm saying, I mean, just.
Yeah,
figure out
but
what
we
you do, yeah.
need council authorization, we need a fee schedule, is all I'm gonna say. If, I don't know, $15, $20 to do.
At least to recover your cost on it.
Yeah. If we had that, then we have the ability to, if it takes us, 15, 20 minutes to help you out, and we're using all of our own resources.
Right, right.
So if you would come up with a fee schedule for us to do those, and perhaps maybe not for the village residents, but for people who want to come in from out of town, that'd be okay with us too.
Or like businesses, I wouldn't do it
Yep.
for free for a business. Like their employees.
Right, but I mean, it's a service that we do, primarily it's a day shift thing, it's usually the lieutenant or me that does it, but, and the money goes to general fund, it doesn't go to us, but it would just be, I think what's happening is people are all saying, hey, go to Hartville, go to
It's
Hartville.
free.
So we don't wanna say no, we don't wanna be discriminatory, you know, but
So, I don't wanna dismiss your thought. I would like for safety committee to pick that up. And you guys come up with the schedule and, does that make sense? I mean, that's where you can do it right there.
Sounds easy enough.
As far as the salary,
I took it to personnel.
personnel, yeah. Any other questions, concerns with the budget? Okay. So we'll get the study done before July of 2021. Payroll will look at the part-time issue.
Personnel.
Yeah, personnel. We'll look at the part-time issue. Safety will look at the fee schedule, come up with those list of items that the department does. Nate, you don't provide services like that for,
What do you?
Like plow driveways, you know.
yeah,
He told me.
Oh,
I
thank
had
you.
to
$20,
pay that.
I'll give you $20 to plow my driveway.
Yeah. No, there's not really anything.
yeah, it's,
No.
okay. I
The
just wanted to
occasional
make
dead
sure
cat
that
off
there
the
wasn't.
Yeah. We do that. No, it's pretty much the police department that provides all the extra services, really.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure there wasn't some sort of service schedule or some fee schedule that we need to develop for the street department too.
No,
I think it's
We
mostly
have-
the police in the office.
Yeah, yeah, and the parks, if we ever get back to it.
Yeah, yeah.
Scott, you have anything to add to this?
I do not this time, thank you.
Okay. Anybody have anything to add? Any concerns?
It's not really a concern, it's just a comment. Do you want the $200,000 in for the paving? Do you want nothing in for the paving? I mean, right now, there's no paving in the budget for next year. I feel like even if you put the 200,000 in, you can always change it, but at least something's there.
I would like to see a paving fund, project fund started and put that money towards it. Even if it's just the 200,000, it shows an effort that something we can apply to. Is that,
Well, first we have to pass legislation to
Yep.
set up the fund. So we could do that at the same time while reading the budget. Okay, because we can pass that one on emergency.
Yep.
So, I guess back to the mayor's question, the first reading, I wouldn't have anything in there. We could change it and put the 200,000 in that other fund after we establish the fund.
Yep.
Okay, we'll do it that way then.
so our first reading of, we've come up here and, were you planning on first reading in November?
Yes.
Okay, so it'll be truly a first reading, and then the December will be passed by emergency on
Right.
first
Third
reading.
reading.
Okay. Okay. I think that's the direction we should go.
Okay.
At least then there's a paving in there. I mean,
It's showing something for streets to
Right.
work towards.
right.
Anything
Hey, Jim, I got a question for finance. Were you guys gonna talk about anything else, or were you?
About what?
I have a question for finance, and I wanna ask it as a taxpayer. I'm just curious, the 1% tax that is paid for the income tax, do village residents then also have to pay for, like Stark County Sheriff? Do they have to pay for that?
What do you mean pay for
Yeah.
that?
Well, does that come out of their taxes, like their property taxes?
No, sales tax.
It's sales tax only.
Okay,
County.
so then they don't
We do pay
pay
a
for
small portion of our property tax to Lake Township, a very small portion,
that. Okay,
but we do get some stuff from it.
so when Lake Township puts a road levy on, does
We don't
the
pay for that.
village residents have to
No.
pay for
No.
that? Okay,
Where you live though, you do.
well, I know,
Yeah.
that's my point. I'm just curious as to why it is that village residents can receive the services that they receive, and they get police protection, that's great police protection, they get the road department, which is a great service, leaf pickup, that's a great service, and some of them don't have to pay anything for it.
And that's.
And
A
yet,
lot of,
and yet, here I am, I have to pay for Stark County Sheriff. If Nimish Township wants to pave a road or whatever, I have to help pay for that as well. And I live on Route 44, which is a state route, so I don't get any benefit from that. And I understand that the tax credit is so people don't get overtaxed, but yet it's okay to tax people like me and Larry and, you know, Heritage Trucking or anybody that works here, and they don't receive any of those benefits whatsoever. It just seems to me, and I don't mind paying the 1% tax. It just seems to me that village residents that get all of that, and I know some of them that voted for this credit make a lot more money than I do, but yet I'm helping to pay for all their services, and they're not paying a thing. And
You have a
I
question?
understand that,
You're speaking quite a bit to the choir, so.
well, I understand, I don't know if it's true or not, maybe it isn't true, that were some council members that were in favor of that. And I'd just like to have some explanation as to, maybe there's some help that can be given to people like me that I'm overtaxed, but yet I'm still paying that 1% tax. And like I say, I don't mind paying it, but I have a bit of a problem when I'm helping to pay for that, so that people can, you know, I can't take it, Larry doesn't come over to my house, I don't get that benefit. I can't take the leaf back home, I don't plow my road, but yet I'm paying that so that people in this village can get it for nothing. And I don't think that's fair.
And I think it's true for anything. So for example, I pay taxes to Westfield Center, right?
Right.
I don't live there,
Right,
but I was willing to pay the 1% for exactly the same reasons you just said. I appreciate having a police department, I appreciate my leaves cleaned up, I appreciate having, I live on a straight road, so it doesn't matter, but streets done, but I do appreciate around the school for sure. But I was willing to pay the extra 1% on top of the 1.5 or 2% I'm paying already to Westfield
Right.
Center, because I am receiving the benefits. I think what people don't see is that they're already taxed somewhere else, and they're not receiving the benefits from that location, so they don't want to pay for the benefits that they are receiving, because they feel like they're doing exactly what you just did. I'm paying
Right.
for benefits for Akron, but I don't live in Akron, I live in Hartville, so I feel like it's an equal deal. They're not seeing what you're seeing as well, because on top of your taxes, just as you mentioned, you're paying for your sheriff, you're paying for
Right.
your roads.
Exactly.
They're not. If we would say, we're gonna now have to charge for police service, or we're gonna have to charge you to pay for your roads, they'd wanna pay that 1%, because ultimately that would be less than what we're asking them to do for the other.
Yeah, it's 1%. Most places are more than that.
Yeah.
So
And-
Scott,
And my thing is if there were council members that were in favor of that,
that
then
doesn't
they should be
matter.
explaining that.
No.
If
So-
there weren't, then I
The
would
question I
know.
have,
But,
and that reminds, the discussion actually reminds me about, what we talk about every time is there any discussion about, those that are working from home paying taxes into a different location? Is there,
Oh, the
Any
discussion that's out there, they haven't changed,
has not changed
they
yet?
have not
Okay,
changed the law yet.
okay.
So, they had forgiveness period where you weren't gonna do it. But obviously that law is, they're trying to put in bills to address this situation.
Which, of course, the major cities are gonna fight.
Exactly.
But with the work from home, because right now what we're hearing from the office, we're talking third quarter 2021 until we
Right.
come back to the office. Sooner or later, I don't know how you keep doing this, because again, everyone I know is still working from home that's in the
Yeah.
corporate office for the most part. But I'll be curious if they keep that. in
How they
play.
justify it, yeah.
Yeah, because now you're talking a year and a half I've been sitting at home,
Right.
and nobody got my taxes. I'm much happier to pay my 1% where I'm sitting all day long.
Sure.
And it's slowly becoming the norm,
Yep.
and that's why
I guess until they do something about that, though, that's not something we can count on. We have to
No.
come up with some other way.
But it's
Not
not
counting
a
on
long-term issue because it's just changed the way
Sure.
society works.
Oh my
Yeah.
gosh, yeah, the whole thing.
There's gotta be a fallout at some point,
Right.
and it's just, it's always gonna be there now going forward.
And even what we say is, even when we go back to work, those people are gonna still stay working from home.
Given the
Because
option, they're not going
It's their
back.
new norm.
Right.
Our new norm is not to go to an office unless I have to go into an office.
Especially if you can get the same work done.
My son works for a plumbing contractor out of Columbus, and when their plumbers go to different cities, for that day, they have to pay the city tax in
Yeah.
that city.
But it's
Yeah.
their business then.
Some cities have this thing really
It's
down to a
predominance
science.
of the day, so if I go to 5 cities, it's where
Right.
Yeah,
I spend most of my time.
and some of the cities have this, they've already boxed out that homework thing already too. So, I mean, it really depends on, I guess, your infrastructure and how progressive it is and what they've done. But small communities just don't have the wherewithal to be able to immediately get that legislation up and get the, I mean, nobody knows where you're at. Yeah, they still base it on where your paycheck comes from, the address of the
Yeah.
home office. Yeah. That's really pretty much where it's at.
Okay.
I know that one time, or maybe it wasn't on the ballot this time, for the 1.5%, and then 1% for a 0.5% credit for people that are paying somewhere else. And that even to me was, sound very fair.
Great deal. Yeah.
But not to pay anything. And to expect everyone else to pay for that so that they can receive those services just seems very unfair to me. That's all I'm saying.
Okay.
The reality is if you just drive down Woodland, look at the growth, drive out to Danbury, go and look at the growth. There's no way we can sustain the growth if we don't change the revenue.
Yep.
Something's gotta happen.
Okay.
February 2nd.
So we just
If you
keep,
want anything on the ballot in the spring, that's when it's due.
we just keep taking the tax credit away. Just vote it in every year.
Okay. No other comments about the budget?
Nope.
Well, that is something that the council does need to address, is revenue source. We don't have much time, so.
February 2nd.
I voted down.
Okay. I'll make a motion to adjourn.
I'll second.
You're gonna present appropriation changes in,
I'll have it for the next meeting,
okay,
Tuesday. Monday before I get it out, but I'll have it.
very good.
Everybody's received a copy of it, so the numbers in total on the legislation should be what they already have, so.
Very good. All righty,
Okay,
yep,